Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico here, CEO of Surfing Asia, co-host of the Made in China podcast, and obviously host of the YouTube channel. Yeah, just wanted to go live again. I thought of an interesting topic, and I mentioned to you guys before that I would try to start doing this more on a regular basis. I can't make any promises. I'm not going to be doing lives on a every day or something like that, but like at least my goal is to get to some sort of level of consistency with a consistent time, depending on where the audience is. It's a little bit different from doing what I've been doing for years, which is recording podcasts and recording YouTube videos and then having them posted on a certain time, certain day. So just trying to understand the audience and the questions. But I've been enjoying this so far. I've been enjoying getting your feedback. I've been enjoying getting your questions. I'm seeing that the viewership is raising more and more. I also want to get more and more do more and more lives with people. So if you've noticed, some of them have been me, just me, and then some of them have been me with guests. So uh, I would prefer more to do them with guests, and the guests are going to be people that I know that are my friends, um, business friends, yeah, and just interesting people. So that's me, Rico. If you don't know about Sourcefly in Asia, then you can check out the rest of the channel and watch all those videos. We are a manufacturing consulting company based off of China, but we deal with Asia and Europe as well. And that's Wolfgang. Wolfgang, say hi to the people. He's chilling right now. He's taking a nap. And I'm going to get into today's episode. So, what I wanted to talk about, if you bear with me, I'm going to put. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about today is basically my lessons that I've learned from living in Asia. So, I've been in Asia for 10 years. I came in 2014 and literally straight out of college, and started my company in 2015, and started in China, and then I've traveled around Asia. I live in the Philippines currently, and yeah, it's been an interesting experience. I've been to a bunch of different countries. I Yeah, so like the first thing I would like to say is I think anything that you know, things that you've been said, things that have been said to you. Let me just pull up the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. Yeah, feel free to drop any questions as I'm talking. So one thing I have enjoyed about being in Asia and everything like that is the weather. The weather is fantastic. The business opportunities have been fantastic. The people that you meet have been great. You have to adjust to Asia. Don't try to like change how people think. So like when you there are going to be things that you have to deal with in terms of like social dynamics and all those kind of things that make it is different from your home country. And that if you can accept that, then it'll make your life so much easier because and your business life so much easier because if you try to change what's going on around you, you're just going to end up frustrated, or you're going to end up being taken advantage of, or those kind of things. So best thing is accept that side of things. Next thing, I would say, is start to make one mistake I notice people make is like they start to, oh, thanks for the hearts. I'm not seeing the chat though. Like if you're gonna ask any questions, and let me know. Okay, so another thing that I would say is try to make friends with local people as quickly as possible, because a combination of local people and people from your part of the world, it's very helpful because that allows you to understand how both sides of the equation work. So, like for example, I might have a different perspective on where you would want to eat, for example, and then a local person might have a different perspective, or I might have a different perspective of how business works versus a local person. So, I would say it's best to have both, and then you get a full rounded experience of the country. And then also me as a foreigner, like I've been in the Philippines for you know for multiple years, but like I can't tell you exactly everything about everything or where to go and all those kind of things. Like that is something that locals would understand and know and have recommendations. So I think that's the best thing, is to have both sides of the equation. Don't just stick to your tribe. Try to expand your universe. And then there's things that like things like food and just lifestyle experiences that you have with people that are actually from the country, and education of uh, the history of the country. So um, that's really really important. And then understand this works as well. So obviously this is more of a business podcast that I do. So I mean, oof, the business side of things I can't summarize in one video. I would love to really just answer questions about that, but I can give you a few tips. So in the Philippines versus China versus like a bunch of other Southeast Asian countries, I would say that like the speed of how things. Hey, Rene Raimundo, nice to meet you. Uh, yeah, so guys, if you have any questions, my business is import export from China to the rest of the world, and also from other Asian countries to the rest of the world. So if you have any questions about import export, then let me know. If you have questions about just anything related to like my life in China and my life in Philippines, I'm more than willing to answer. And yeah, so and I have a bunch of other videos on my channel that you can go through. And I've been doing this for 10 years, so I have quite a bit of knowledge around this situation. Alzamate 1000 Zame, I'm butchering this name. Alzam 1000. Cheers for joining, and drop any questions in the chat. So where was I going? So business in China, differences, business in Philippines and other countries in Southeast Asia, Asia as a whole. I would say that things to look out for. I can't speak about all of Asia, but things to look out for is just basically like the speed, right? So like in China, like there's more hitting deadlines. So if you say you hitting deadlines, but also just like even um, how quickly people respond to certain things. So if you have an inquiry with the factory or whatever, and you ask them for a quotation and you tell them it's important for you to get the quotation by the end of day or in 2 days or something like that, so that you can then pass on the quotation to the customer, to the end buyer. I feel like in China it's a little bit faster, whereas if maybe because manufacturing is not the main industry here, it takes a little bit longer sometimes to get some information from suppliers and things like that. Um, so like that's why I said you have to adjust to every country. So like for example, in China, also another thing is like in China is it's a little bit less non-traditional in terms of work hours. So people work sometimes 7 days a week, right? In in other countries in Southeast Asia, and my experience is more around Philippines. Weekends are weekends, you know. So and holidays are holidays. People are not working on holidays. In China, it's becoming a little bit different with the holiday situation. The government has started to implement strict laws around holidays, so like people are now taking more vacation time. Um, but in general, like yeah, people just work like around the clock. You know, I've had situations where I'm in another country, different time zone, and it's probably 3 o'clock in the morning in China, and I'm messaging a supplier, not expecting them to respond, just messaging them so they can respond the next day. And then I'm getting a response back, and I'm back and forth, and I'm like, why are you still awake? It was like it's 3 a.m. And then like when I message them in the morning, their morning time, they're still as well. Like as an actual morning, like let's say like at 9 a.m. or whatever, they're at work. So yeah, China is different in that. China is a different animal, yeah, in that sense, and that's something that was instilled in me. Some people sometimes ask me as well, like, why am I awake when I'm responding to messages at random hours in the morning when they're in another country and time zones and all that kind of stuff. And that's just I guess something that I learned from living in China for like 5 years. So yeah. Um, so I mentioned the weather. I mentioned the people. I mentioned not trying to change the culture, trying to adjust to the culture. Gave a brief little thing on business. Um, I think when it comes to business as well, it's really important to have people around you that have been doing business in whatever country that you're in, like in Southeast Asia, for a while. Because even me right now, like, oh, okay, I would say always remain a student. So even me right now, like I'm sort of transitioning into commodities trading. Not, I'm still going to be running SFA, but like I'm learning about commodities right now from Africa into Asia, and that's a whole other ball game. There's a lot of moving parts involved, and you have to kind of be surrounded again by people that have been doing it for a while, so you don't have to learn the hard way. And with commodities trading, typically there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of shady people. There's a lot of upstanding people. But like it's a combination of a lot of different things. So yeah, definitely surround yourself with people that have done whatever it is that you're doing um, before, and don't be shy to surround yourself with people like that because um, I think a lot of times people have a mentality of like, oh, well, if I tell this person about what my business idea is or what I'm trying to do, then that person might take my idea and then do it themselves. So I think, yeah, try to change that mentality. It's going to help you a lot. Um, Next thing would be in terms of Asia, things that I've learned. There's so many different things that I've learned. I think you have to. I'll go on a little bit of a tangent. Uh, the food is fantastic, but obviously depends on which country we're talking about. So I would say, if ranking the different countries, China has the most diverse amount of food that I've seen. Like the different provinces of China, just diverse, like different spices, like just different levels and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to Thailand is probably the I mean, I don't know, like I don't know what they do with their food, but it's probably the most delicious, I would say, at least my preference. Philippines is probably the freshest because of the amount of like just being like the cleanliness of the ocean. If you're talking about seafood, freshest. Um, so yeah, that's my food. My top three. I top five. I wouldn't know necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't have. I haven't spent enough time in different. Oh, Indonesia. Oh, okay. I forgot about Indonesia because I was there for a month. Um, Indonesian food reminds me more of like Indian food, so it's like it's kind of like very flavorful and spicy, and I love that as well. I don't have a ranking in terms of number one, number two, number three, number four. Like everything is fantastic. But it's just about your preference. So like if you're into spicy foods, then you probably don't want to be dealing with some of like is like Thai food, some Thai food, some Indonesian food. It's going to be tough to, and Chinese food, of course, Sichuanese and the like. That's going to be a very difficult thing to do. But like, of course, there's a lot of varieties within those countries of food that is not spicy. Next, thing that I learned from living in Asia. Uh, I said welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Okay. Yeah. So again, guys, like if you wanna drop a comment while I'm talking, or move on to the next topic, let me know. So next, I think so the business side of things, dealing with employees. Dealing with employees, I just think it's again adjusting to the culture, adjusting to the culture of the country. So instead of you trying to make people uh, like obviously you make people understand how you operate and all those kind of things. That is an obvious thing, but like just understanding the country that you're in and respecting the culture and trying to adjust to the way people live and the way people think, the thought process. So I spent a lot of time. This goes back to a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned before, in terms of like finding mentors and like immersing yourself and having friends that are local instead of just hanging out with your foreigner friends who are from the same culture as you. So then you end up in like this bubble. Immerse yourself. So then you, when you understand the differences in your culture. I was listening to a million podcasts about business in China. I found mentors and all this kind of stuff, and that information helped me to kind of get to a stage where I was like, oh, okay. Not that I understood how to deal with Chinese employees, but like at least I had some sort of basis. So when I started working with my staff, I was coming from a place where it was like, all right, like I kind of understand how you think, and it's different from the way I think. And then on top of that, I started to, you're just having conversations, so you're learning, you're observing, and then you have your mentorships. So you're talking to people that have been doing business in China for years and years and years and years, and you can pick their brain about what's going on with your staff, and then give feedback. And it's the same thing with the Philippines. Was I didn't necessarily have a mentor, but actually no, I did have a mentor, but I had friends, business friends, who had been working in the Philippines and had Filipino employees, and kind of just pick their brain about how to deal with stuff and what are the normal things, what are the things where you have to, well, I don't know, how do I say this in a nice way? There's no nice way to say it. It's just like there are situations where you have to fire people, right? So, uh, yeah, so basically the question in that moment is like, are you firing the person because they did something actually wrong, or are you firing the person because your cultural background is causing you to do something like that? So that's those are the kind of things that you learn from either living in the country for a long time and dealing with different employees and different people, or uh, having people that are mentors that can give you some advice. So, if I want to be specific, I would say that in China, my experience and the things that I learned from other people was that once you start to hear from different like suppliers, customers, etc., about an employee, like I used to give three three opportunities. So it was like, okay, first time, second time warning, and then third time I'm letting go of that employee. Also, another side of things in China would be that um, you have to make sure that you have that documented in their contracts. You can't tolerate too much disrespect. When I say disrespect, I mean like if you're criticizing your employee for something that they did, and then they started like I don't know, screaming at you or something like that, then that's a major red flag. But again, you have to have that in the contract. And then in my industry, you have to be careful about like your employee going around you and working with customers directly. But I think that that's kind of a little bit outdated in some aspects. Like I don't really worry about that much. Um, in the Philippines, um, I don't worry about the last part that I just mentioned. What I've noticed is a lot of times, like I mentioned about the work side of things. So like in China, a lot of people work like 6 days a week, 7 days a week, um, which is changing. But in the Philippines, I noticed that yeah, there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, excuses for not actually working on certain days. So there's a lot of like sick days and all those kind of things. And for me as a boss, I try to be very flexible. I try to be very understanding. But there's a clear difference between like the amount of, I would say, sick days or time off that my staff in the Philippines take versus my staff in China. Um, but then the other difference is that in the Philippines, um, the staff is obviously, English is one of the first or second languages in the country, so it's much easier to communicate. There's also the cultural connection between Western culture and all those kind of things, which helps with communicating with clients. So like a lot of my Philippines people are doing editing on my videos or my podcasts and communicating with my customers directly, which is very helpful because you can hire somebody here that is well educated, can speak, understand Western culture, can relate to Western culture, and then it's less expensive than hiring people in the West. So and yeah, there's a lot of positives with working with Filipino stuff. So okay, but other things I've learned in Asia, I think I went through a lot of stuff. Like I went through food, I went through business, I went through don't know if I don't know what else I would mention. It's like obviously the cost of living is lower than in Western countries, but that's like stuff that I think everybody knows. Um, yeah, I mean, I have like for example, like I have a cleaner. I have somebody who helps walk. I have a dog walker. Um, the I don't I like I order food most of the time, or I eat out. I don't really cook that much. Don't really have the time for it. I can cook, but I don't really cook that much. Um, I have good friends here. Oh, another thing about Philippines is the amount of islands here, which I think Jamie mentioned in the last video that we did, the last live that we did. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of places to go, places to travel, beautiful places. Um, so these are the things that I've learned about living in Asia. It's probably going to be another podcast that I'll do similar to this, but with Jamie or another one of my Filipino friends, so they can give their perspective on some of the things that I'm saying. Because right now I'm talking from a vacuum. So what I'm saying is my own experiences, but I would like to have somebody else who is Asian, who's also traveled, and Jamie has traveled, kind of give me some feedback or ask me questions. See if there's any things in the chat. Okay, so I think I answered most of the stuff in the chat. Uh, by the way, if you want to drop some comments after the stream is done, feel free to. As I said, there's no real schedule around this. It's going to be more of just me whenever I'm available. Thursdays, typically, I do recordings for Discord. So, actually, by the way, if you want to join our Discord, just go to our website, sourcemedia.com. There's a link to Discord at the top of the site. And yeah, feel free to drop some more comments afterwards, and we'll try to respond to them, or just join us on the next live. My email address is rico@sourcemedia.com. Um, the podcast is the Made in China podcast, and obviously this is the YouTube channel, so you can hit us up, and the website is sourcemedia.com in general. So, cheers.